The courtroom was silent except for the creaking of old wood benches and the heavy breath of despair. Jeremiah Cole stood alone at the defendant's table, his hands cuffed, his wrists bruised from tight restraints. 24 years old, black and penniless, he had no lawyer, no advocate, just the dull ache of betrayal and disbelief gnawing inside his chest. The judge barely looked at him. The prosecutor called one witness, a gas station clerk who claimed Jeremiah matched the description of the robber: tall, hoodie, dark-skinned, no security footage, no fingerprints, no alibi presented. Because there was no defense. Jeremiah tried to speak, to tell them where he was that night, but the judge cut him off. You had your chance. This trial is concluded. The gavel struck like a shot. Guilty. Life without parole. A wail escaped from the back. His mother curled into herself like a crumpled paper bag. The bailiff moved to escort Jeremiah away, his chains clinking in rhythm with her sobs. Then it happened. The courtroom doors creaked open with slow, deliberate defiance. A tall black man, sharp in a charcoal-gray suit, entered. His shoes clicked confidently across the tiles, his face unreadable. He carried no briefcase, only a folder tucked beneath his arm and an air of authority that didn't need introduction. Excuse. Me, Your Honor, he said, his voice calm but commanding. This case isn't closed. Everyone froze. Even the judge blinked, unsure if this was a prank or something more dangerous. And who are you, sir? The judge asked warily. The man smiled faintly. Someone who doesn't let injustice sit quietly. Jeremiah looked up, eyes wet but burning with a new kind of fire. His name was Malcolm Ryder. He didn't hand over a business card, didn't make a dramatic show. He simply walked forward, placed the folder on the judge's bench, and said, "Motion to vacate. Sixth Amendment violation. Defendant was denied counsel." The courtroom murmured. The judge hesitated, flipping through the pages. Meanwhile, the prosecutor sneered. "There's no record of you representing this man. Who do you think you are?" Malcolm turned to face the room. "I'm not appointed by this court. I came because no one else did." People whispered. Reporters in the back clicked pens. The bailiff stepped forward, unsure if he should escort this man out or salute him. Jeremiah stood stunned. He had never seen this man before in his life. Malcolm's gaze finally met his. "You don't know me, but I've been reading about you. I watch cases like yours because I lost someone once. Someone no one fought for. I promised I'd never let that happen again." Flashbacks flickered in his mind. His brother, Marcus, arrested at 17 for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. No lawyer, no press. Just steel bars and silence. He died behind them. Malcolm walked away from a six-figure job in Manhattan, gave up partnerships and power to fight for the invisible, the forgotten. And now, in a tiny Mississippi courtroom, he'd found another Marcus. "I'm filing for immediate review," Malcolm said, eyes locked on the judge. "If this court refuses, I'll take it federal." The judge, rattled but intrigued, finally nodded. "You'll have your hearing, but I'm warning you, this isn't a movie." Malcolm smiled faintly. "No, Your Honor, it's a reckoning." And, for the first time in weeks, Jeremiah Cole let himself hope. Malcolm worked like a man chasing time. He rented a cheap motel room near the courthouse and turned it into a war room, papers taped to the walls, strings linking witnesses, photos, timelines. He questioned everything, the police report, the witness, even the judge's previous rulings. He began with the star witness, Mr. Franks, the gas station clerk. Malcolm tracked him down behind a bar, half drunk and twitchy. "They told me he did it," Franks finally admitted. "I never got a good look, just wanted the cops off my back." That confession was recorded. Next came the police report, filled with gaps. No fingerprints taken, no forensic analysis, a surveillance camera across the street, marked not functioning in the file. But Malcolm found the shop owner who had the footage all along, footage that clearly showed someone else, a white male in a ski mask with tattoos on his hand. One tattoo read, "Loyalty," in Gothic script. That matched Kyle Mercer, a white ex-con with a string of robberies in nearby towns. He'd been arrested weeks after Jeremiah's trial on unrelated charges, and no one connected the dots. Malcolm assembled everything in a binder labeled Truth. But small-town Mississippi didn't roll over easily. The sheriff called Malcolm a troublemaker. His tires were slashed. A brick was thrown through his motel window. Still, he pressed on. Back in court, Malcolm stood tall, binder in hand. New evidence, suppressed footage, a coerced witness. I submit this under Brady v. Maryland and demand full reconsideration. Jeremiah sat straighter in his orange jumpsuit. Malcolm's voice never shook. This young man didn't fail the system. The system failed him. The courtroom sat silent. The judge took the binder, his hand trembling slightly. The truth was no longer buried. The courtroom transformed into a battlefield. Malcolm, unshaven but burning with intensity, launched his case like a surgeon wielding a scalpel. Every detail, timeline gaps, camera footage, Frank's recantation, was laid out with precision. The prosecutor fought tooth and nail, trying to discredit the witness, question the footage's authenticity, argue that even without a lawyer, justice was served. But Malcolm stood firm. Justice isn't served when guilt is presumed and defense is denied. Day 3 of the hearing, tension peaked. As Malcolm delivered a fiery cross-examination, his voice faltered. He swayed, then collapsed. Gasps filled the room. Medics rushed in. Heart strain, they said. Years of stress and no sleep had taken its toll. Jeremiah watched helplessly as the man who'd fought for him was wheeled away on a stretcher. All seemed lost. Until hours later, another woman entered the courtroom. Sasha Bennett, a sharp, poised civil rights attorney from New York. She walked with confidence, carrying a worn leather briefcase and a single letter, written by Malcolm. They had been rivals once. Malcolm, knowing his health was failing, had asked her to take over if anything happened. She addressed the court the next morning. I stand here not to replace Malcolm Ryder, but to honor him. He gave his life to this case. I will not let that be in vain. Her cross-examinations were surgical. Her closing argument blistered with power. This court must decide today if it values procedure over truth, whether black men like Jeremiah Cole deserve due process or simply judgment. The courtroom was still when she finished. Injustice. Anywhere, she said, holding back tears, is a threat to justice everywhere. The courtroom buzzed like a live wire. Every bench was filled. Reporters leaned forward. Jeremiah sat at the defense table, head bowed, hands clenched, waiting to hear the words that could end or restart his life. The judge entered. Papers shuffled. A long pause. In light of newly presented evidence, suppressed material, and constitutional violations, the court hereby vacates the conviction of Jeremiah Cole. The defendant is to be released immediately. Cheers erupted. His mother screamed and fainted into the arms of strangers. Jeremiah sat still, stunned. Then slowly, he smiled. A tear slipped down his cheek. Outside, camera flashes sparked as Jeremiah stepped into the sunlight, no longer in shackles. Malcolm, fragile but alive, stood nearby in a wheelchair, flanked by Sasha. Jeremiah walked to him, knelt, and said, "You saved my life." Malcolm smiled, eyes misting. "No, you saved mine." 6 months later, Jeremiah began studying law. With the help of Sasha and Malcolm, he founded the Cole Initiative, a nonprofit dedicated to uncovering wrongful convictions. 2 years later, he stood on a stage at a packed TED Talk, dressed in a suit Malcolm gave him, delivering a speech, titled "The Day I Was Heard." I was poor. I was black. I was voiceless. But one man walked into a courtroom not for fame, not for power, but because he believed the law should serve the people. All the people. He paused, then said, "That man didn't just walk into court, he walked into my future." Standing ovation. Justice, once denied, had finally stood tall.